Every group in history has had a population of traitors amongst them. Every race has had their traitors. What makes traitors amongst our race so unique, Sister Nikki, so unique is, number one, we have more than any other race. And that speaks directly to our helplessness, hopelessness, and self-hatred. Most black people don't want to be black, and so they willingly join the forces of their oppressor against their own people, because being a part of anything is better than what I am. That's why when you see black police officers, black people who work for the courts, black people who have civil service jobs, whenever you see a black person working for the government, if you notice, they have a special type of an arrogance about them. Not all, but most of them do. If you go into a court and you see this black people working there, they might be the clerk of the judge, they might be a patrol officer, security officer, police on the street. It could be someone giving you out parking tickets. But black people who work for the government have a special type of an arrogance. Why? Because they are proud that they have been allowed to align themselves with their oppressor. All oppressed people, okay, like to identify with their oppressor. We have to understand it. All oppressed people like to identify with their oppressor. Now, it sounds like a contradiction, and it is, but you have to understand the nature of oppression makes one want to escape it by what? Any means necessary. And if joining the forces of the oppressor helps you escape your oppression, you will do that. So that's number one. All oppressed people like to identify with their oppressors. Number two, oppressed people do not like to accept responsibility for the role that they play in their continued oppression. Mm-hmm. Oppressed people do not like to accept responsibility for the role that they play. For example, you'll hear brothers and sisters point out the white man, the white man, the white man, the white man, as I also do. But then on the flip side of that coin, I'm saying what? We have the exclusive responsibility of solving our own problems, and we have the resources to do it. That's totally different from the Negro who says we are doomed unless the white man changes his policy. We are doomed unless the white man changes his policy. We don't talk about the fact that we just got finished wasting about $50 billion on Christmas gifts. We don't want to talk about the fact we just got finished wasting about $5 billion on Thanksgiving dinner. We don't want to talk about the fact we just got finished wasting about $15 billion in after Christmas sales. We don't want to talk about the fact we just got finished wasting about $8 billion on nightclubs celebrating Christmas and New Year, and not to mention the money we blew on Kwanzaa, so-called Black Christmas. You see, so we don't like to take responsibility. We just want to look at the oppressor. Third, oppressed people tend to look up to members of their group who have been able to join forces with the oppressor. These are very contradictory facts, Sister Nikki, but people have to understand them to understand a black predicament. People will say, well, if I'm being oppressed, why would I look up to somebody in my group who has joined the oppressor and is now being used against me? We have all kinds of examples in our history. Every black person who gets promoted to a privileged position within the white hierarchy is automatically what? Celebrated by oppressed people. Barack Obama, he's celebrated, okay? He's not viewed suspiciously as he should be. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Condoleezza Rice, Herman Cain, these people are what? Celebrated. Mm-hmm. Even though we know that they're working with the oppressor, we're still happy that they made it out. Which is why I always say, Sister Nikki, we make a big mistake, not you and I, but black people in general make a big mistake in assuming that most black people have a problem with white supremacy. That's not true. Their problem is with the fact that white supremacy did not give them the opportunity to join forces. We have to be clear about that. So when you go into a conscious meeting, when you go into a community meeting to organize black people, please don't assume that because they showed up, it's because they wanted to exterminate white supremacy. They do not. Most of them will gladly join forces when given the opportunity, and that's why most of your black leaders have turned into traitors the minute they got an opportunity to join the enemy, and Al Sharpton would be the perfect modern example of that. The perfect modern example of that. What else do we know? about oppressed people. They are terrified of the oppressor. Scared shitless, Sister Nikki. Scared shitless. They will talk big and bad in private settings, but when they are in front of that enemy, like I am in the courtroom or in the schools or in the jail, then there's a whole different rap that they give, which is why you have to study black people to make sure you're not aligning yourself with somebody who's only participating in the conscious movement because there's some sort of personal benefit in it. See, we got to understand something, Sister Nikki. The black struggle, which includes the conscious community, supersedes that. The black struggle, because you got a lot of black folk who believe they're participating in the struggle on all levels, from academia down to the streets, mid-range struggle. The black struggle has been turned into a business. It is a product to be sold. Just like you sell sneakers, earrings, cars, and clothes, we are now selling the conscious movement. And we have to recognize that there's a difference there. But unfortunately, there's so much money to be made in black leadership, so much money to be made on the lecture circuit, so much money to be made in books, DVDs, paraphernalia, food, you name it, that our total struggle has been sold out on all levels by most of us because it's no longer relevant to move us from where we are to where we need to be. It's simply a way and means of doing what? Getting paid. And we have to recognize in the black struggle, which includes the conscious community but is not limited to it, within the black struggle, you have a lot of people who really don't believe in what they talk about, Sister Nikki. They do it because it is a means to a financial end.